Good morning. Good morning. If everyone would be seated, I would be so appreciative. I'd like to welcome you all to our Big C meeting. Today is March 27th. We will begin and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With that, we will start with Mayor Queen. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go around the room, perhaps to have everybody introduce themselves.
Bill Queen, Mayor of North Readington Beach. Also, if we would, please keep in mind Jim Rostack. He had an operation and he's out of the hospital, but he's recovering.
Thank you. Thank you. Your name? Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry. My name is Pat DePlasco and I'm Executive Director with Keep Pinellas Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Gina Johnson, Waterfront Realty.
Tim Johnson, Waterfront Realty and Tampa Bay Beaches Board of Directors.
Lindsay Cross, State Representative, District 60.
Good morning, Kimberly Burfield, State Representative, District 58.
Sure, which way you want to?
That's fine. John Fansteel, Indian Rocks Beach, part of a large group against the invasion of short-term rentals into our once peaceful neighborhoods.
Hi, Mary Wilkerson, Indian Rocks Beach, business owner, vacation rental beach owner, as well as resident, Harbor Drive North and Indian Rocks. Thanks.
Jerry Newton, Indian Rocks Beach.
John Bigelow, City Commissioner, the Indian Rocks Beach.
Janet Wilson, City Commissioner, the Indian Rocks Beach.
Mayor-elect, the Indian Rocks Beach.
Patty Katz, Indian Rocks Beach.
Susie Sofer, Commissioner, City of Bel Air Bluffs.
Stan Sofer, Bel Air Beach, XXI Management.
And Diane Shear, Mayor-elect of Indian Shores.
Good morning, Larry Shear, Fire Commissioner, Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District.
Frank Gelbrick, Reddington Beach resident.
Morning, Nigel Duffett, Premier Hotel Corporation and Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber of Commerce.
Bob Schmidt, retired Mayor, Bel Air Shore.
Good morning, Charlie Justice, Pinellas County Commission.
John Doctor, Vice Mayor, Treasure Island.
Hi, good morning, Wendy Hoflick, Sea Turtle Nesting Manager for Clearwater Aquarium. Amy Tugaw, Sand Key Realty.
Mark Oram, dailyautism.com, resident, Seminole, Florida.
Good morning, Doreen Moore, member of the Tourist Development Council, TRS, Total Realty and Travel Resort Services, Vacation Rentals, and a resident here in Madeira Beach. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Rich Cariello, Vice Mayor of the town of Reddington Beach.
Good morning, Mike Howard, Council Member-elect, Indian Shores.
Good morning, Mike McLaughlin, Town Administrator, Reddington Shores.
Christy Herrig, resident, Reddington Shores.
Good morning, Margaret Carey, Town Clerk, Reddington Shores.
Good morning, CJ Hoyt, Town of Reddington Shores, Commissioner.
Good morning, Sam Jenkins, SPC's Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions.
Adriana Neves, I'm the Town Clerk for the Town of Reddington Beach.
Lauren Kornichuk, City Clerk of Indian Rocks Beach.
Hendrik Biesans, Treasure Island Seasalt Properties.
Auke Andresen, Treasure Island Seasalt Properties.
Oh, hi. Mitch Perry, reporter.
Good morning, Barry Rubin, Treasure Island Madeira Beach, Chamber of Commerce, CEO and President.
Krista Ray, Waterfront Realty.
Good morning, Mike Ray, Waterfront Realty.
Trash Collins, social media influencer and North Reddington Beach resident.
Niall Rader, North Reddington Beach resident.
Clint Belt, Fire
Teresa.
Chief, Madeira Beach Fire Department.
Teresa Grabasi, Reddington Beach resident.
Peg Shannon, Madeira Beach resident.
Tony Stillo, aide to Commissioner Janet Long.
Good morning, Jeffrey Davidson, Fire Chief for Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District.
Ashley Wilson, legislative aide for Senator DeSegli.
Good morning, Senator Nick DeSegli, District 18.
Good morning, Robin Miller, beach business influencer, Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber.
Morning, Gilbert Bolivar, General Manager of the Hotels Amore on St. Pete Beach.
Megan Powers, assistant to the city manager of City of Madeira Beach.
Good morning, Robin Gomez, City of Madeira Beach. I have absolutely no responsibility here this morning. Thank you all for visiting Madeira Beach. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Lena Teixeira, Councilwoman of Clearwater, Florida.
Tyler Payne, Mayor of Treasure Island.
Mayor of Indian Shores. Ray Kerr, Vice Mayor, Madeira Beach, sitting in for Jim Rostek, Mayor.
Mayor Cookie Kennedy, City of Indian Rocks Beach.
David Will, Mayor, Reddington Beach.
Good morning, Rich Lorenzen, Vice Mayor, St. Pete Beach.
Good morning, Daniel Story, Vice Mayor, Bel Air Shore, filling in for Steve.
Dave Gaddis, Mayor of Bel Air Beach.
Lisa Hendrickson, Mayor, Reddington Shores.
With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. Are there any changes to the agenda and approval?
Move to approve. Second.
Lauren, did you get the approval and the second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, would one of our great mayors, Robert Schmidt, better known as Bob, come up forward, please? Bob, I want to thank you for your service to the city of Bel Air Shore and your friendship and kindness to all of the commission. We've all worked with you for many, many years. We got you this plaque because you're retiring, and it says you have done above and beyond. And thank you for being a dedicated leader and contributing your time and energy to make the beaches the best place in the world to live from 2006 to 2023, the Barrier Island Governmental Council.
I would just like to take a minute to thank everybody over the years in the town of Bel Air Shore, as well as the Big C and the beach communities. I've served on a lot of different boards and over the years, and the one thing with the Big C, everybody seems to agree what the objectives are and focuses on the job at hand. I've never seen anybody here over the years arguing about anything. Everybody's got the same objective. And I want to thank you again. And my game plan, of course, is to stay involved as much as I can in civic communities. And thank you.
After we want to get a picture with you.
Okay.
Okay, our next agenda item is the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
The approval was from Mayor Queen and the second was from Mayor David Wills. Gaddis. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our next item is the approval of the February 2024 Treasuries Report.
All right, we had an opening balance of $967.51. There were 2 disbursements, one to Digital Eel for $9.50, the other to Pizanka Trophy for $210. leaving us with a balance of $748.01.
Thank you. And is there a move for approval?
Second.
Move- And second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We will now move on to correspondence, which Mayor Wills talked about, the digital eel and the Pasanka invoices. With that, we'll move on to new business, and we will have our presentation with Keep America Beautiful. Keep Pinellas Beautiful. Well, and America. Come on.
Right. That's it. One step at a time, right?
Yeah. We'll start here.
Hey, you just gave me a great introduction for my introduction. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hate having my back to everyone. I wish I could spin around this whole time, but I'll get dizzy. My name is Pat DePlasco, and I am the Executive Director of your local Keep America Beautiful affiliate, Keep Pinellas Beautiful. You can change slides. Okay. Keep Pinellas Beautiful, our mission is to conserve and beautify the natural environment by means of education and community engagement. You know, but we're more than that. What we are is we're a group of people that wants to get a group of people together to help preserve the beauty and health of our natural environment here in Pinellas County. We just happen to be one of almost 1,000 affiliates in the United States and one of 50 in Florida. And I might add, one of the best, but I'm not just saying that. Let me see, next slide. Oh. You know, when I took over the organization in 2015, I was trying to come up with a way to describe what we do, you know, very easily. But basically what we do is we educate, we engage, and we empower. We educate residents on the relevant ecological issues and how how we impact the environment and the economic health of our communities. We engage citizens through our community improvement initiatives as part of a sustainable solution to keep Pinellas beautiful for generations to come. And the most important thing is we empower community participants to become environmental stewards and volunteer leaders. Next. Our programs or areas of programs and services involve our education programs, our education initiatives, provide free presentations, visual or in person, to schools, businesses, and civic organizations to share our impact on the environment and offer ways to help us keep Pinellas and our world beautiful. And we tailor each presentation to meet the needs of the group. Our student involvement has grown dramatically in the last couple of years, encourages Pinellas County youth to get involved with the environment. We offer Bright Future Hours and Community Service Hours to middle and high school students through our Volunteens program. We train the next generation of environmental professionals through our college internship program. And we bring students together with our Youth Advisory Council to help design and to help youth-led conservation initiatives in the community and at school. We also offer an environmental leadership online course. And now that COVID is over, we're back to normal again, and we're back to our environmental workshops. And it's a 2-week workshop where high school students, it's 2 sessions where high school students get to come and they spend 1 week totally immersed in the environment. And they walk out of that leadership workshop with the ability to lead on their own. And that's the way that we started our high school chapters. We now have 14 high school chapters within Pinellas County, and they are student-led programs that partner or piggyback on a service club in the high schools. And we offer to go in there and do training and to offer them unlimited community service hours and also leadership opportunities. Our Adopt a Mile program, our Adopt a Mile program is a partnership between Keep Pinellas Beautiful, Pinellas County, and residents. This is a free program and it involves participants who adopt an area of Pinellas County and receive the training and materials necessary to host their own cleanups. Each adoption group holds a minimum of 4 to 6 projects per year. We have Adopt a Mile, Adopt a Shore, Adopt a Trail, Adopt a Community, Adopt an Alleyway. Don't stand still too long because you'll get adopted. But the whole concept behind that is that if people make a commitment, if they sign that document, it's only a 2-year plan, but they sign that document and they're committed to do what they're asked to do for 2 years. And that's a really a neat way to develop relationships and work directly with the public. We have our community improvement initiatives, and our community improvement programs engage residents to create positive change and a lasting impact. We work with community leaders and interested parties such as churches, schools, and businesses to organize projects throughout Pinellas County. These community projects include cleanups, Florida native species plantings and gardens, building raised beds, tree plantings, invasive species removals, mulching, planting, graffiti removal, and even constructing picnic tables. Our beautification and community greening consists of our county's green, consists on improving our county's green spaces and preserving Florida's native ecosystem. We also work on beach refurbishment and planting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Our annual events, we're in the middle of this right now. This is the Great American Cleanup. This is Keep America Beautiful's signature event where we engage approximately 6 to 10,000 volunteers in community program initiatives. And I know that the city of Madeira Beach has been partnering with us for years on this. In fact, they even give an award every year for the best volunteers. So it's very much appreciated. We also have, that's, by the way, that goes from March 1st through June 30th. The other large annual event we have every year is the International Coastal Cleanup. And that's where we partner with the Ocean Conservancy and we provide science-based or citizen scientist activities where people actually count the number and type of trash that they're picking up. So this goes into not only our records, but goes and helps internationally with the Ocean Conservancy and to understand the amount of trash and the types of trash that we have. That's another great program. You know, we grew so big in such a short amount of time. We started out with 3 staff. We now have 9. We're interviewing for our 10th, and we're very grateful for the support of our city, but also because of Pinellas County. Pinellas County is our major supporter for our organization. But as we're growing, you know, we're always looking for additional funds. So that's why we do fundraising, and we also do contracts with cities, but we can talk about that more later. The ambassador program involves site captain ambassadors. So we train individuals to lead our events. So if we can't be there with only 9 staff, we have someone that knows, that has done this before. We go out when they have the proper training and they can lead it. We have education ambassadors where they can help us with educational presentations and they can also do outreach. We have microplastics ambassadors, and the microplastics is a program that we have in partnership with the University of Florida, where we're collecting water samples throughout the county and we're analyzing these water samples and counting the amount of microplastics we find in the samples and reporting that in. Let me see. And we have beautification ambassadors. So the reason we started with these programs is just to give us an extra hand and actually utilize the leaders that we have in the community, because there's so many people that want to get involved with us and they have the talents. So we bring them on board to help us. We have a hospitality eco partnership program. You know, we do a great job educating in the schools and educating the community, but we didn't have a touch point to the visitors in our community. So we started this hospitality eco partnership program where we're partnering with hotels and restaurants and teaching the staff what are the proper things to do and how to care for the environment so they can share it with their guests. We also provide activities for them. They can adopt an area, they can adopt a beach in front of their property or road in front of their hotel or restaurant, just to get them involved and develop team spirit and team building events for themselves. And the last program we have is I want to share about, actually, it's not the last, we have many more in here, but these are our main ones, is our litter hotline. And our litter hotline is really neat because it empowers every citizen in the county to call us when they see illegal dumping. And this is something that I would love for you all to write that number down, 727-210-4663. And let your community members know that if they see illegal dumping, if they see excessive trash, they can call that number and within 24 hours of the answered call. So that means if it comes in on a Saturday, we're not going to pick it up until Monday, but on a weekday, we will respond to them and the trash will be removed. That's a really neat program to have, and it really does give the power back to the residents to help control. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the Big C recap. These are the beaches that we've worked on, the ones that we did events in 2023. And in the back on the table, I put a stack of our annual reports, and that will go through in detail more of what I'm talking about today. But in Bel Air Beach, we did 22 events. We engaged 167 volunteers, removed 1,994 pounds of trash. We completed 242 volunteer hours and saved that city $7,247.90. Bel Air Shores, we weren't in last year. Clearwater Beach, again, this was 194 events. I mean, you guys can read this. I don't need to go through this individually, but just for you to see each one of the things and how we record everywhere we are, we record what we do. So the data is kept and we're able to report on what we're doing in that area. Next slide, please. Okay, our impact in 2023. That was city-wise, this is county-wise. We did 1,294 community improvement projects. We removed over 167,000 pounds of litter. We planted 3,537 trees and plants, native trees and plants within the county. We removed over 78,000 invasive vegetation throughout the county. Next slide, please. Our impact also includes, we provided 641 educational presentations. We participated in 17 outreach events and 27,323 individuals were educated. Next slide, please. But you know what? What I'm really excited about, and we're back to normal numbers again because we were building up again after COVID. We engaged 20,089 residents or community members here in Pinellas County to participate in our events. And it's really neat. And the reason why it's so important and Keep Pinellas Beautiful came about because of Keep America Beautiful. And the whole philosophy behind Keep America Beautiful is that everyone takes responsibility for the places they call home. So if we provide the individuals with the tools to do so, then most likely they love where they live, they want to. And then in the communities that are underserved and that need that little oomph, we get in there and we work with those communities, with community members, and we build a sense of community by creating a beautiful space and having the members come together and see that, work on it, and see what they've created. And that kind of just develops more friendships, more, and actually feeling like this is my home too. Next slide, please. Okay, our total impact when we multiply, and this is last year's numbers, not this year's numbers. When we multiply 2543 by the volunteer hours, we see that we save taxpayers over $1,500,000 of labor in community improvement projects. So it's a great selling point. I mean, as far as I know for the county, because we can see how much money we save them. But what's more important to us, and to me anyway, is the amount that we did and the amount of volunteers that have participated and worked with us. Next slide, please. Okay, these are our projects. These are future projects and beach plantings. And we've been contacting a number of beaches. We have a grant from Surfing Evolution Preservation Foundation for sea oats plantings. And we have a couple of beaches on board right now, a couple of the beach communities on board, but we'd like to have some more. They're providing us the funding so that we can purchase sea oats. And not only sea oats, but other plants to help. And I know that a number of the beaches have been refurbished lately, with the sand, and that you might need plants. Please reach out to us and call us if you'd like that. Next slide, please. The other projects, and as I mentioned, this was Great American Cleanup, and these are the different activities that we do. Every year on March 1st, before March 1st, you all get the invitations from me to come to this event, the Leaders Against Litter. It's a center picture there. And what we do is we invite the leaders of our community to come out to Gandy Beach, and Commissioner Justice is always there reading the proclamation and always saying some wonderful things about our organization and cheering people on for being out there. We want all the leaders to see how bad it really is in some areas, and we clean up Gandy on a weekly basis. We're there every single weekend, averaging 500 pounds of trash per weekend. So we were excited there. I was saying at the Leaders Against Litter March 1st this year, that when I was looking at the data, I was seeing a decrease in the amount of litter, but it's back up again, unfortunately. But anyway, we do the cleanups, and there's just wonderful things that are going on in beautification projects during the Great American Cleanup. Next slide, please. Our other future projects are also water-based projects. We also take out kayaks and canoes, and we get out there and clean the mangroves and areas that are hard to reach. Next slide, please. Okay, if you're interested in finding out, or if you want to share information with anyone, you can look at our website under ongoing events, and we have a listing of them. There's a constant list going on because that's how much our reach has how many people we've touched, because these people are calling us and asking us to put these projects together and do these different projects. So you can check on our website under ongoing events, or you just call the office and we can talk to Megan Jackson. She's our program coordinator. Next slide, please. So what can you do? All right, the first thing I mentioned, and I mentioned it before about the litter hotline. Keep Pinellas Beautiful has the litter hotline. Again, it's 727-210-4663, where you can call us and report illegal dumping or excessive trash on public lands. You can join us, and I know a majority, we have, I think, 17 of the 24 cities as city members of Keep Pinellas Beautiful, and thank you so much to the cities that have joined us. And we also want you to tell us about your community needs, and let's schedule a project. One of the neat things that we've done to be able to build our staff and build our impact is contract with individual cities. And we have contracts so far with the city of St. Petersburg, the city of Clearwater, and the city of Largo. So that's additional funding they're giving, because under our county contract, we're being supported for unincorporated areas. Now, nowhere did you hear in my presentation that I talked about any lines between, because I don't see the lines. We don't see the lines. Trash is trash, litter is litter. When there's a need, we get out there and do it. So we would love to, when you're doing your budgeting this year, consider sitting down with us and talking about supporting our organization a little more, maybe even bringing an adoption program to your community. Our Adopt a Road program, our Adopt a Mile program is only on county roads. So if you'd like one for your communities, we would be glad to come in and set one up. So next slide, please. So I want to thank everyone for listening to me here, and I want you to know that I'm so excited to be here and so excited to share what we do. And I want to thank you all for participating and for helping us in the future, helping us in the past to grow as big as we have, and for supporting our initiatives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Pat from the board? Hearing none. Thank you, Pat. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
With this at this time, I'd like to bring up Mark Orwin, if he'd like to come up. Mark has a daily podcast. It is called Daily Autism. And Mark has 5 children. His youngest son, Cal, is autistic. I met I met Mark in class at SPC, and I basically fell in love with his project that he's doing about autism. I'm going to ask all of you, our 11 representatives here, to take a stronger part in autism as we move along. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. To all people here in Madeira Beach, I got to adjust this. Thank you all. I appreciate this opportunity. I'll make this as quick as possible here. My youngest son, Cal, was diagnosed with autism 3 years ago. He's 6 now. And I started dailyautism.com to really connect families of the community, really an underserved community. And primarily by our own choices, this happens and we tend to feel confusion, embarrassment. But I really do believe we are in the midst of an epidemic, and it may be silent right now, but it is going to roar throughout our communities very soon. And I'll give you some background on the epidemic itself. The autism rate prevalence 2014 was 1 in 68. In 2018, it was 1 in 54. And here we are now, 1 in 36 children diagnosed with autism. Florida has the 4th highest rate of autism in the country, a prevalence rate of over 4%. But to bring that home a little bit to the 11 municipalities here, population 147,596. If we strike that against the 1 in 36 diagnosis, that's 4,100 individuals amongst the population here, 4,100. But it's not just the kids who are diagnosed, it's the family members, 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 2 aunts, 2 uncles, 2 cousins, 2 neighbors, a couple of coworkers, a teacher, 3 family friends. And all of a sudden we're at 90,198 people who are impacted. Add in the diagnosed kids, we're at 94,297, over half of that original population number. A lot of people ask, how is a family impacted? What does it mean to be impacted by autism? Divorce rates are higher, job loss is higher. Many of these kids need 24/7 care. My son needs 24/7 care. Higher cost, $2.5 million on average to raise a child with autism. Medical treatments, special education, therapies, caregiving resources, and safety measures. Also, health issues for the parents, anxiety, depression, stress-related conditions, all very common in the special needs community. Take all that into consideration, and we've got a big problem here. Water. It is the best friend and the biggest enemy to autistic kids. It is the #1 way that autistic kids die. It's also one of our greatest assets here. It's why many people move here. Florida leads the country in childhood drownings. There were nearly 100 last year, and nearly all fatal drownings are a result of wandering, eloping, and becoming missing from a caregiver. Now, the term eloping with autism, it sounds different. We think of eloping, we think of getting together. Maybe you go to Las Vegas and elope. But with kids with autism, they elope towards the water. So they run from their caregivers, they run towards the water. And experts will tell you, these kids love water. My son loves water. It gives them both a sensory regulation and excitement. So they're getting comfortable and they're also getting excitement. That's why they seek it. That's why they run towards it. Children with autism are 160 times more likely to drown than their neurotypical peers. And 50% of children with autism wander. They don't just wander, they run. They turn into cheetahs and they take off for the water. So I came up with a couple of initiatives, just 2, because I think it would really benefit our community as a whole. And the one is a wearable QR technology just like this. It's a sticker. It goes on the back of a shirt. The child has no idea that they're wearing it. That's important because these children have sensory issues. They don't like to wear things. Sometimes bracelets and scanners and things like that upset them. I created this a couple years ago. We were going to a Rays game and I was terrified because I didn't know what my son would do in this large crowd. When these kids become lost, when they elope, you will notice them. It does look different. They're not going to jog towards the water like they're practicing for a 5K. They're going to run erratically. So if a citizen sees this, they can scan the QR code. A video message comes up on the screen, the citizen screen, with instructions of how to handle this, what to tell the dispatch. The sheriff's office here has a mental health unit. It's to improve time in getting a mental health unit to that scene instead of deputies having to get to the scene and then determining that this could be an autistic person. The wearable QR technology is cheap. These are stickers, something that could be available at a city hall for big events, fireworks shows, or even a beach day. The second initiative is a citizen drone activation system. There are over 1 million drones in this country and over 300,000 licensed pilots. Our picturesque setting, we have a lot of drones. I see them all the time in the air. A child goes missing. Somebody calls 911. Police respond. They eventually get a drone in the air, sometimes a helicopter. But if we could have local drone pilots on a network to get a text and an email of the last coordinates of a missing child, we could get more drones in the air. We could cover more miles in the air. I think that's something that we should really consider doing, very cost effective, and it could save lives. The more area we can cover when these kids run into mangroves, into canals, between structures, the better opportunity we can to save these kids. Finally, we conducted a large survey, 170 local residents, and I'm just going to give you one piece of data, and we asked them to measure this statement. I believe that our communities are safe for autistic kids or adults to live in. 78% either disagreed or strongly disagreed with that statement. So we are hearing these families of the community, and I think it's worth it for us to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Before you go, come up here. I got you something.
Oh, you
I hope that all of you will have Mark at your cities and talk more about this initiative. We are, our city manager, his grandson is autistic, and we are going to meet with Sheriff Galtieri, and we're going to try to put together some kind of a program with the drones. I think that that was fascinating. And any of those who have drones could be a part of it if there is a lost child. So I hope each of you, Mark, can we give, do you have your card, or can we give your phone number to each of the members up here? And I know there are some from other cities here that possibly they will get, and you could, tell me your number. 727, okay, 404-275-8301. So I hope you will call him, and let's do something about this. Thank you, Mark. Okay, next we have nominating committee recommendations for upcoming consideration of appointments at the annual meeting.
You want volunteers for the committee?
Yes,
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
I'll volunteer.
Volunteer.
okay. Lauren, we have Mayor Gaddis, Mayor Lisa, and Mayor Bill. Okay? Thank you. Is there any old business to come before this board today? Hearing none, we will start. We have no discussion items to the best of my ability. I don't see any legislative updates, and we will start with our Senator, Nick DeSiglia. If you'd like to come forward. Hi, Nick.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Mayors. It's good to be with you. We had a very busy legislative session. The one thing we are required to do per the Florida Constitution is to pass a balanced budget, which we did. That budget was $117 billion. Obviously, we're going to find out how much of that budget is going to be vetoed or not vetoed by Governor DeSantis, but I think he's made it very clear that he's going to sharpen his pencil here in the coming weeks and months. We also focused on healthcare. Senate President Passidomo was very focused on making sure that here in the state of Florida, we have an environment that we're able to retain our doctors, we're able to retain our nurses. Obviously, with the growing state, as quickly as we've grown, it's very important that healthcare remains a top priority. Obviously, keeping a low tax environment here in the state is very, very important for all of our communities, from the Panhandle down to Southeast Florida. We didn't address property insurance directly because of the several reforms that we tackled in years prior, going back from 2020, 21, 22 special session. The good news there with property insurance is that the level of litigation has come down significantly due to these reforms. Obviously, we're going through many of these claims still through Hurricane Ian, which has certainly had an impact on that level of litigation that we've seen. So personally, for me, I had a very busy legislative session as well. I'll give you some of my highlights here. My Safe Florida Condominium Pilot Program we wanted to create a pilot program for folks who want to provide hurricane mitigation to their condominiums. Obviously, condominiums are significantly different than single-family homes. So we were able to start this pilot program where an association can receive up to $175,000 per association through grant funds. There's a $30 million appropriation that goes along with that. Release of balloons. We talked about litter earlier today. Release of balloons. I worked with Representative Cheney. Simply, if you release balloons, that you could get a ticket for intentionally released balloons. You could get a ticket, simple litter ticket. I think it's about $150 fine. I ran the cybersecurity incident liability bill, which basically protects businesses and governments who follow protocols from any type of frivolous lawsuits. Residential permitting, we want to shorten the timeframes for local governments to process those building permits. Treatment by medical specialists, which allows our first responders to go out of network. As you know, firefighters is the greatest example. They are dealing with some of these, environment with different kinds of smoke, et cetera. They're getting specific lung and heart diseases that are very unique. They have to go out of network to get treatment. This bill will allow them to do that. As the chair of transportation in the Senate, I ran the transportation package. Also ran the artificial intelligence political advertising bill, which will require a disclaimer for any type of political ad that aims to injure a candidate using artificial intelligence. I got a $18.2 million in appropriation. I'll give you some highlights. $1 million to the Pinellas Suncoast and Fire Rescue for their new fire station, $100,000 for Madeira Beach seawall replacement, $650,000 for St. Pete Beach stormwater, $650,000 for St. Pete North Shore Park shoreline revitalization, water quality, working with the Ocean Conservancy, $295,000, and $500,000 for Treasure Island roadway and drainage improvements, several other infrastructure improvements, and other youth programs. And last but certainly not least, I'm sure the item that many of you want me to discuss, and that's vacation rentals. Vacation rentals got through the legislative session this year. It was a priority of Senate President Passidomo. And I just want to point out that, the Senate President had given me an opportunity last summer whether or not I wanted to sponsor that bill once again. I sponsored that obviously in 2023. Did not get out of the legislative session. And after about 3-4 weeks of deciding whether or not I wanted to go down this road again, I decided to sponsor that bill. The reason why I decided to sponsor this bill is because that when you have a priority of a presiding officer, whether that's a Senate President, whether that's a Speaker of the House, there's a high likelihood that that particular piece of legislation is going to get through the legislative process. And so knowing what a hot topic this is in Indian Rocks Beach, knowing that I have a vacation rental directly next to me, directly behind me, directly across the street from me, I wanted to make sure that my constituents here in Pinellas County, the 550,000 of them, were going to be at the table because it's easy to be in opposition of a bill, and I respect my colleagues on both sides of the aisle that did not support this legislation. That works both ways. But I wanted to make sure that our community here in Pinellas County had a voice at the table when this legislation was being, presented in committee and then obviously on the floor. Those changes that I was able to bring to the table was occupancy, was the reasonable fees. The reasonable fees were capped. Occupancy was never dealt with in the original legislation going back to 23 and going back to 2011. And so, I wanted to make sure that our voices here in Pinellas County were heard. Obviously, the bill is waited to be signed or not by Governor DeSantis. We're in communication, myself and the Senate President, with him and his staff. We'll see what happens here in the next few weeks. But I want to make it very clear that this is an issue that I take very seriously. This is an issue that I try to get right. I understand that there's a lot of emotion in our communities relating to vacation rentals. I understand there are a lot of folks who have moved to these communities that don't want vacation rentals. They want to have a family of four in these units. And I recognize and I respect that. But this issue, the legislature in 2011, it preempted vacation rentals to the state. And so this was over all of these years, it started, obviously this issue started to grow. I think it started to accelerate during the pandemic. And now we're in a situation where these vacation rental properties are popping up all over the place, not just in our beach communities, but throughout our state. And so, until the legislature decides to, remove that preemption, this is the legislation that was proposed. This is the legislation that the Senate President certainly made it a priority for her to advance this. So I did the best I could to create a balance here. Obviously, there's property rights issue. There are needs of the community. There's an economic impact when it comes to folks coming to our communities, staying in vacation rentals, spending money in our restaurants, in our local restaurants. Those are all the things that you have to take into consideration when you craft a piece of legislation of this nature. And I want to specifically thank Mayor Payne for your friendship throughout the entire legislative session. You and I stayed in communication. You were giving me your feedback. You were giving me some ideas. I utilized those ideas into this legislation, and I just want to thank you for your friendship, our partnership. To my opinion, that's how this is supposed to work, and I really do value what you and I were able to do through this legislative session. So, Mayor, with that, I am certainly, as always, happy to answer any questions any of you might have.
Any questions for Senator?
I just have a comment. Thank you for coming today, and thank you for all the positive work that you did during session. But I do have to say that the residents that I represent, and also myself personally, strongly disagree with the preemption regarding short-term rentals. Because a preemption removes the voice of the actual resident in that neighborhood from participating in their local government.
Anything else?
This power now has been centralized to Tallahassee. So, I mean, we could talk all day long on this, but the actual voice of the resident to go to their town hall and have a discussion, pros, cons, whatever, to shape their community, to force that direction has been removed. So to me, whether they're for, whatever their position is, having that voice, having that discussion is incredibly important. So taking that away takes away the residents' voice in their community.
I'm happy to talk with you about all of that because I'm not really sure that I understand where this bill, the vacation rental bill, Senate Bill 280, removes anybody's voice. As a matter of fact, we took a lot of the things that Indian Rock Beach did when it comes to local registration programs for vacation rental and attempted to implement that into this bill. So I'm not sure I fully understand. I'm not sure I ever fully understood how this bill or any other preemption takes away the voice of the people to elect their local representatives, their ability to go to City Hall, express their views, participate in our democratic process. I don't know if this is the forum to have that debate per se, but I'm not sure. I just don't understand, that position of yours, especially when it relates to this legislation. I can't connect the dots.
Well, very quickly then, land use and zoning has always been the responsibility of that local community. So the direction that community goes regarding that will be up to the residents that live in that community. Now, as you'd mentioned, in 2011, the state preempted local communities. So now whether they wanted short-term rentals or not, they're having them. That decision-making was taken away. That's what preemption does. It takes the decision-making away from the actual resident of that community.
And I was not in the legislature in 2011.
Well, I understand. I'm not saying that, but now, and you had mentioned that, yes, that shouldn't have happened back in 2011, and I would agree with you. But now we are preempting again, and I've heard several legislators and our Senate president also say, well, it's been preempted to the state. It was preempted before. What's wrong with preempting a little more? The current legislation as it stands right now from 2014 allows local governments to regulate short-term rentals as they wish. You cannot ban them, you cannot regulate the frequency or the duration. So the communities can regulate how they feel will be best to maintain the single-family residential quality of that community. So if a community like Treasure Island, say, wanted to adopt what you have proposed, they could do that. The communities who don't want to adopt what you have proposed, now, if the governor signs this, will be forced to accept that.
No, that's not true. They're not forced to have a local registration program that's laid out in the bill. They don't have to do that at all. There's basically no regulation. So they're more than free to do that.
In the bill, right, so a local community could decide not to set up a registration program.
Right.
But now, we've also lost the ability, which was very important in the 2014 legislation, to distinguish between a single-family home and a vacation rental. Because
In what
I believe
way? In this bill, in what way?
to regulate.
No, but how does this bill not distinguish?
Well, there's a line in there that says you cannot, it cannot be given a citation for any violation that does not solely apply to every house in town.
And that's in effect today.
That is not in effect today.
That is in effect
There is,
today.
we've had these discussions. There is plenty of case law to support all throughout the state, and the cities throughout the state have regulations set up. There is case law to support that we are able to regulate and we are able to distinguish. It says it, and we can go back to 2014, and I can give you that legislation we have local senators and reps who sponsored that legislation. And it's very clear there. And I've provided that to all of our people here. I've spoken at several events laying out the facts so that they can make their own choice. They know what the facts are. They know what the regulations are now. This does not give us any more ability, does not help us at all. We're not able to distinguish between a single-family house and a vacation rental, which I believe they are very different entities.
They are very different. And in the bill, it clearly lays out within that local registration program, every vacation rental properties, they have its own identifying number.
That is
Okay.
correct.
And then the local governments can either coordinate that with the Department of Business and Professional Regulations. They have a database that they're going to create. So I'm not sure I understand from what you're telling me where you can't tell the difference between a single family home and a single family home that's operating as a vacation rental. I'm not sure.
Right, so we know that difference. But beyond that, I'm not able to regulate the occupancy, which I am now. I'm not able to
The
regulate. the
occupancy is
parking,
also
which I
laid out
am
in
now.
the bill. The occupancy is laid out in the bill.
It's laid out in the bill, but right now, the local communities are able to set that themselves, to make that decision themselves. So now the state has come in and said, this is a uniform policy throughout our state. We know we have 411 cities throughout the state, all of them different, all of them unique, all of them with their own personality. We'd like to maintain that.
So if I can
Yes.
chime in, these conversations and debates have gone on for a long time, and I think we're just rehashing what's already been discussed many times. So I just and I know that a lot of my colleagues up here are not happy with the final result of this bill, but I do just want to encourage everyone to try to look at the positives like the senator highlighted. Like he said, it does set a standard occupancy limit, which I think is very reasonable. And with conversations that I've had with multiple of you, when we talked about what kind of an occupancy limit we would want to be able to enforce, I understand your point, Mayor Will, that you believe that we could have done that before, even without this bill, but this really solidifies that ability for us to regulate the occupancy, which is 2 people per room, and then 2, what's the common area? 2 per common area. So that seems very reasonable. It also allows us for, like he said, to charge a reasonable fee for a registration program, which last year the House and Senate the House wanted to cap that at $150 per unit, whereas now it's a reasonable fee. So Treasure Island, I can do the math with my city staff to calculate how much revenue I need to have from a registration program in order to create a viable enforcement arm of that registration program to be able to look at this database, look what vacation rentals are not in compliance with the rules that we've set forward, and enforce it and revoke their registration. So with the reasonable fee, which is something, thank you very much for fighting for that. We can now do that math for ourselves at each of the 411 cities local level to set that fee. And we've done the math, and we're gonna hopefully consider moving forward with a registration program so that we can pay for additional code enforcement officers, so that we can pay for the software that we need to have to track these vacation rentals and enforce our rules that are in place. And I think most importantly, which has been just overlooked every single time we discuss this and talk about it, a very key provision in this bill is that it allows cities that have lost their grandfathering to reinstitute regulations on frequency and duration as long as they're even just slightly less restrictive than what they had in place prior to grandfathering. So if any cities have lost their ability to regulate duration and frequency because they had a court case or a lawsuit that challenged them trying to change their ordinance since that grandfathering went into effect, you can go back and re-implement those restrictions that you had in place in 2014 when that first preemption went into place. So I think that that is a huge thing that is being overlooked and not talked about enough. So thank you for making sure that that was included as well. And thank you for your cooperation and partnership and listening to us, because I know you don't hear that from a lot of people up here, but I know that you listened and you did your best to try to incorporate the needs of our cities into the bill.
Thank you. Just a quick question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Daniel Storr here. And I'm learning this process, but I'm just curious, the cities that lost the ability to do that, are you aware of which cities those are?
There's over 111 cities in the state of Florida who've lost their grandfather clause.
Fix that. And then the only thing, the standard occupancy limit, I know you said it did that, but that already exists now. So I just wanted some more clarity on that.
And maybe the senator can clarify, but it allows within the registration program, if your city opts to create a registration program, one of the conditions that has to be met in order to renew and have an active registration is that you state that occupancy and enforce that occupancy limit on your vacation rental. So if it's found that you're violating that and you have a party house or something with a ton of people staying in it, then the city and the state have the ability to revoke your registration.
And last question again, because I travel and I use VRBOs and Airbnbs when I travel quite often for business. I'm curious, how do you enforce, when I was younger and things were a little tighter, we would cram 15, 16 people into 2 bedrooms, right? And as long as we weren't causing a problem, like we didn't throw some big party and the police were involved, there was no way to know. And we were a burden on all of our neighbors, I'm sure. We took up a lot of extra space and, the house, the plumbing systems, all those things aren't designed for that. But I'm curious, how do you enforce, even with hiring additional enforcement agents, how do you enforce occupancy unless there's a problem? Or do you have to wait until a problem arises before you do that? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think that's an issue with a lot of things, not just this. I mean,
Sure.
anything that we pass in the city, there's often not ways to prove it. If something's happening in someone's backyard that our code enforcement officers can't have clear access or sight to, that's problems we run into. So I don't think it's
So it's not a proactive resolution. It just merely allows you to take steps to resolve a problem after a problem has already arisen. And then what's the process? So are there going to be, let's say that we cite a home, right, for violating this, is there a standard process for the number of warnings or how hard is it or difficult is it to remove that license?
It's very difficult.
Yeah, the enforcement of this, whether under current ordinances today, is very difficult. I don't think that's really going to change here. Obviously, if there are 5 violations within a 60-day period, the suspension can be 30 days. If there's 5 violations within 30 days, suspension is going to be for 90 days. And again, that enforcement is strictly, done by local governments.
Sure. And then one last question, I believe. If, let's say a specific property, subject property violated continuously and it just was an ongoing thing and eventually that license removed, that individual chooses to sell the home, right? Because they can no longer operate it as a short-term rental. the next person comes in and buys it, can they then apply for the same short-term rental license and restart the short-term rental process at that property?
Yes.
Seems fairly ineffective to me, but okay. Thank you for answering the questions, guys.
Senator?
Thank you. That's done.
Yes, very quickly. I mean no disrespect whatsoever. I'm just having a conversation with you. I disagree with you based on facts and case law and the current ability from the 2014 legislation. When you mentioned, and I heard Tyler mention, this bill allows, we are already allowed. There are three things we cannot do, which was ban, regulate frequency and duration. Outside of that, we are allowed to regulate. That has been proven. There is case law, and I would love to sit down with you or anyone at any time to discuss the actual facts of where we are now so they can make up their own minds on which direction they would like to go.
Happy to talk with you offline on that.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Before you leave, as your mayor, I want everyone to know this, that I invited you multiple times. And I appreciate the fact that you had conversations with Tyler. We were all at a meeting once in the very beginning, last before the session. I invited you multiple times to our city. I consider you my friend. My feelings were very hurt. Our city manager invited you to come. And so I want the audience to know that not only Tyler reached out to you, but I did on many occasions. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and
today.
I wasn't, pointing that out. I represent 20 municipalities in Pinellas County. I can't realistically go to every single commission meeting. And then
Multiple
the
times.
commission meetings that you were having, you guys were
And that's,
deciding
thank you very
locally
much for coming
on
today. I
what
just
was
wanted
going
you
on
to know
locally.
that, and I wanted the audience to know, but thank you for coming today.
And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Representative Burfield, if you'd like to come up now, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to start on a little bit of a different note. Today, we actually come together and we're connected by a shared element in our community that is vital to Pinellas County. It is our beautiful, family-oriented, active, and famous beaches. Our coastlines are more than just a place where we and families and neighbors and friends and visitors can make memories. They are our first line of defense against increasing threats of hurricanes to our state. And the past legislative session, we have focused on the safeguarding of our homes, our communities, and our local economy that thrives as a result of tourism. As a reflection of that commitment, the 2024 $117.5 billion budget. I want you to think about that for a second. $117.5 billion. That is approximately $0.5 billion more than last year. That is the smallest increase the state of Florida has experienced in a number of years. And yet we have been able to accomplish some great things. We are talking about tens of millions of dollars that were invested not just in weathering for the next storm, but ensuring that Florida remains a safe and thriving atmosphere for our future generations. This piece of legislation, this budget of ours, includes extensive support for public shelters during hurricanes and other forms of pre-disaster mitigation. One of those items relates to our homes and was mentioned by Senator DeSigley through the MySafe condos, but also the MySafe homes initiative that was started over a year ago. Both of those programs received funding. As we're speaking about homes, I would also share with you, there were some additional steps that we actually sought to address during this session that were challenges which are currently being faced by our citizens' property insurance. A number of bills were integrated into an overall piece of legislation. So as you can appreciate in the legislative process, we have a number of members who bring various ideas to the table about how we can address the same issue. This year, we chose, because of all the significant work that was done around tort reform last year, to actually take those various small pieces and put them into one piece of legislation. One of those issues would have had a significant impact specifically on Pinellas County. 20 years ago, when citizens' property insurance was created by the legislature established parameters. And while the thought was that we would not hit those parameters, no pun intended, until 40 or 50 years later, The artificial property values and the cost of homes that we're experiencing today would have triggered for a large number of homes in Pinellas County, the hit to a 700,000 replacement cap. That means that it would have triggered an ineligibility, I hate that word, that would have been experienced by a number of our citizens, where they wouldn't have been able to go to the insurer of last resort and actually obtain insurance. Fortunately, as I mentioned, that piece of the pie was integrated into the overall piece of legislation and will be protecting our citizens. Another protection that we chose to focus on was associated with our shorelines, and one that I was proud to be a part of with Representative Cross, and I'm sure she'll talk a little bit more in detail in reference to that. But basically, while we as the Florida legislature can't tell the federal government what to do, as we might like to at times, we can collaborate with them and we can send them messages and encourage them to take certain actions. House Memorial 1411 sought to instruct the Army Corps of Engineers and our federal partners to focus on protecting our shorelines without unilaterally deciding to take private property from our citizens and threaten us with not actually renourishing our beaches. The last item of protection I would like to take a moment and note deals with House Bill 7073, and some of you all may be familiar with that. It was sponsored by House Chairman Stan McLean of the Ways and Means Committee. It included the removal of mandates that could have restricted our ability to fund necessary projects that help enhance our community's environment. Initially, House Bill 7073 contained provisions that would require all new local discretionary sales surtax initiatives to be approved by referendum at least every 10 years. And it sought to limit all new tourism taxes to 6 years, requiring that our voters would have to approve it by July 1 of 2029 to continue. The bill also proposed that any tourism tax that was in effect would have to be reapproved by the voters by June 30th of this year. While we saw the benefits of ensuring accountability, being good stewards of the dollars, we also appreciated the risks that came along with this. And as this issue was brought up late in the session, we did have a group of leaders from Pinellas County who actually fought to make sure that that was preserved this year. And so that will not be going anywhere. I know that was a concern that I heard from a number of you on this council to make sure that we were protecting that resource. However, I would share with you that based on the final conversation relating to the tax, I would anticipate that is something that will be coming up in the next session, and something that we want to take the time to really educate our peers and our elected officials about, so that they understand how we are collaborating, how we are working in a good manner, and how that is being such a benefit to our communities. So those are just a few. I wanted to make it short and sweet to the point, as I know we're coming to the end of the meeting. Some of the things that the legislature has done that directly impacts our beaches and our tourism industry. So thank you, Madam Chair, for asking us here today. As always, I look forward to continuing to work with you all. You have my number, and I hope you will continue to reach out.
Any questions for Representative Bearfield? Any questions for Representative Bearfield?
I
Thank
just
you.
want to say thank you for always being available and always listening and helping us.
Yes.
Thank you
It's
very
been
much.
awesome. And thank you. I reached out to you to come to one of our meetings and you came, and I know the time that it takes an elected official, especially at the state legislature, and I appreciate that you came to a meeting. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Representative Lindsay Cross.
All right, good morning. It's good to be here with you. I'd just like to start by saying that I do not represent any of your communities. Unfortunately, I love being out here at the beaches, but my district includes the eastern portions of St. Petersburg and Pinellas Park. But I began coming to these meetings back in 2018 when I was running for a Senate seat, which is now occupied by Senator DeSegli. And I just appreciated so much that you come together and work collectively and collaboratively on issues that I continue to attend and like to hear the feedback that you have, because I think we're all working towards the same type of goals here in Pinellas County. But unfortunately, I don't have the beaches in my community. But I did sponsor and help to support some bills that have direct influence and application to your beach communities and the residents and your businesses there. I want to start by highlighting a bill that I was able to get passed this year along with another representative from the Palm Beach area. The bill number is HB 165, and it's related to the sampling of water on our beaches and our public bathing areas. And what this does is it requires public health notifications within 24 hours or the next business day if there is sewage, if there's fecal matter in the water at a level that is unsafe for swimming. That's something that your communities may have already been doing proactively, but there's been a lot of bad actors. We've seen sewage spills throughout our state. Our last couple weeks of session, I think there were 3 down in Southeast Florida. And so people are unknowingly going into contaminated beaches and swimming areas, contracting illnesses as serious as Vibrio, which can cause death. And so the previous requirement was actually not a requirement. It had a shall, the word shall in there, or may rather than shall. And so this will now require municipalities and state agencies within 24 hours to notify the public, to have signage and potentially close beach areas when they're unsafe for swimming. So that's something that will go into effect July 1st as soon as the governor signs that. I think it's a really proactive public health policy, and glad that we were finally able to get that across the finish line this year. A couple of bills that I sponsored did not make it across the finish line this year, but they are ones that I'm committed to working on. You may know that I have a background in environmental science and have been working in that field for over 20 years, working on improving water quality in Tampa Bay and conserving natural areas throughout the state. So as Representative Burfield mentioned, we co-primed a bill together called House Memorial 1411, which again was related to beach renourishment and trying to urge Congress through the Water Resources Development Act, through that reauthorization this year, to tell the Army Corps of Engineers to be better stewards and work with the local communities to make sure that we can get these beach renourishment projects, that we can continue to get the resources from the federal government that is so important. Because that memorial did not pass, I think there's still other opportunities for us to work as a county delegation and send that message up to Congress. I know that Department of Environmental Management here at the county, Kelly Hammer Levy, who you all have had to your meetings many times, they're working on other ways to collaborate with our senators, Scott and Rubio, and other members of our congressional delegation. So I just encourage you guys to keep that pressure on them so that we can have better coordination, continue to pull down those federal resources for those very expensive but important projects to renourish our beaches. A couple other bills that I will continue to work on. One of them is related to advanced wastewater treatment throughout the state. There's varying levels of treatment for our wastewater. Some of it is because areas like the Tampa Bay were under a bill back in the 1980s, the Grizzle-Fig Act, that required higher level of treatment. However, there are some parts of our state that still are at lower levels of treatment. So that means the water they discharge to their estuaries, their lakes, out into the Gulf or the Atlantic Ocean is not as clean as it is to the levels that we treat here. I think that as a state, we need to have a systematic way of prioritizing where our state taxpayer dollars go in those upgrades. And we don't have that right now. A lot of our water quality improvement money goes to specific member appropriation projects that may be more politically backed rather than those that are going to have the most impact on our local communities and our health. And so this bill 1153 would have started to look at really the state of our wastewater treatment plants, where we're having problems, where we need to make those upgrades, and then creating a prioritization for going forward. A couple things related to housing and insurance. Both Senator DeSegli and Representative Burfield mentioned the My Safe Florida Home Program. We did do that, a new condo pilot program, and made changes to the My Safe Florida Home Program in terms of who is eligible for that. A bill that I was working on with a senator from Lee County, Senator Jonathan Martin, would have expanded that program to include flood mitigation. Pinellas County is one of the top 3 counties in the entire state for repetitive flood losses. And neighborhoods in my district, including Shore Acres, were hit kind of with the double whammy with Idalia and with the no-name storm in December. I've been having a lot of ongoing conversations with the city, the county, as well as our congressional leadership, Congresswoman Kathy Castor, on how to better bring resources to the community. And so this bill would have allowed for some flood mitigation protection measures to be a part of that grant program. I think that it's something that has interest from the CFO's office going forward, but there was too much emphasis on some of the retweaking of the existing program and that condo pilot program. And then finally, another bill I had would provide some tax relief for accessory dwelling units. And this is something that may be popular in your communities or may not. I know in St. Petersburg, it's a place where we're trying to add density in the right locations. In the Live Local Act last year, we provided up to 100% tax abatement for multifamily units that we're renting at an affordable rate. Well, I think it is only appropriate that we extend those same tax benefits to our local neighbors who have accessory dwelling units, mother-in-law suites, garage apartments, and are committing to rent those at an affordable rate. So that's something that I think has a lot of interest as well, and that I'll continue to work on going forward. And the last thing I wanted to mention is a bill that did pass. The Senate version was SB 1526. It's called non-conforming or unsafe structures. And I did share it with Lauren to provide to you all, but I'd appreciate if you and some of your staff would take a look and see how it may impact your communities. The basic gist of the bill, it came from the desire to redevelop in the Surfside community following that tragic collapse of that condo a couple of years ago. But it is a preemption on local governments, and it's specifically related to existing structures that are seaward of the coastal construction control line. So those are the areas that are closest to the water, and in my opinion, most vulnerable to sea level rise, to storms and hurricanes. What this bill would do is it would require or it would allow for the demolition of most of those structures. There are a few exceptions, including single-family homes and those within the National Register of Historic Places. But if there's structures that are built maybe in the 1950s or 60s that don't conform with current building codes, those could be deemed as non-conforming or unsafe structures for various different reasons. What it will do is it will make it so that local governments cannot limit for any reason the development potential of new structures put in those places for a similarly situated parcel in the same zoning district. So in effect, it would allow for a new structure to be as tall and as large as other structures in that same zoning district. So I'd appreciate if you could look at your GIS maps. I know that Mayor Payne just provided that to me for some of the communities that have more of the motels and the townhomes and some desire from developers to make some larger hotels, multifamily units. It's something that you should be aware of because it may significantly impact your ability to limit that density and those higher buildings. It imposes you cannot impose any other additional building restrictions or have additional public hearings in response to that. So there are places where it will have a big impact in our state. Hopefully it does not impact your communities as much, but I wanted you to be aware of that. And please, if you see examples of that, I'd like to know some specific properties that could fall under that or how it may impact your residents.
Thank you, Representative Cross. Is there anyone who has any questions for our Representative Cross from St. Petersburg?
I have a
Yes, please.
question for clarification, please. Can you talk about the provision in the bill that pertains to barrier island municipalities with a population of 10,000 and has at least 6 city blocks that are not in, I'll call it a flood zone.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that whole provision in there is taking me off on
Yep.
a whole nother path.
Yeah, so the vacation rental bill, there was one county that was exempted from that bill. The language in SB 1526 is meant to exempt a specific community within our state. I don't know if any of, certainly you would have populations under 10,000, but I don't know if you have at least 6 city blocks not located in zoning districts V, VE, AO, or AE.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that there are some carve outs, I believe Tampa, West Palm Beach. There are a few communities that are identified as not falling under this provision. And so that's why I'd love to give you a little bit of homework to see whether that would impact your communities.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Cross.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you very much. You've always been available. We've
Yes.
spoken many times. I know you're not a representative of this actual area, but you are a representative. So you do vote in committees and you do vote on the floor. So thank you for looking out for us.
You're welcome.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to have our Pinellas County Commissioner, Charlie Justice, come in and give us some words about what's going on at Pinellas County.
What's going on in Pinellas County? It's a good question. Good morning, Mayor, Council. Appreciate the time to come share an update with you. The state legislative session finishing up. There's a lot to report there, so I'll be quick. You heard one of the representatives talk about our goal to continue to work with our federal representatives on our U.S. Army Corps issue. You heard that the language that we wanted to be in the spending bill did not make it in there, so now we are focused on getting that language into the 2024 Water Resources Development Act. We are in constant contact with our local congressional delegation. Senator Rubio, Senator Scott are all over this issue. I don't have to really tell you, anyone on this board, what's going on with that, but the Army Corps, who gets a call from a U.S. Senator and just completely blows them off, is something I've never seen before in my life. But we continue to work to get that language in there. Immediately, on St. Pete Beach, we are taking part of our Grand Canal Dredge project, and we are placing some of the sand there onto Paso Grill Beach. I think about 15,000 cubic yards. So that's really it. I mean, we continue to move on planning stages for the other projects. We have funding, local funding for the match. We have a healthy reserve in our TDT budget to take care of our needs on that, but we continue to work with our federal partners to see if we can't get some movement on the U.S. Army Corps language. And I'll happy to answer questions as we move on. A couple other objects, obviously the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium and the downtown St. Pete Gas Plant District. We continue to have negotiations, conversations with the city of St. Petersburg and the team. You probably read about that in the paper a little bit. There's a dozen documents on each item. Nothing is on our agenda yet. We expect to have a full briefing and workshop once we have a final agreement between our negotiator and the city and the team. We expected to have that vote in April or May, maybe May or June now, as we continue to move. But we're taking our time to make sure that if this is something we move forward with, that we're all at a comfort level that we can live with. County Complex, at the end of last year, we purchased a site on Ulmerton Road, just east of US 19, an old automobile lot, if you're familiar with that, next to the Aviation Authority. That will be the home of the new County Complex. We have wonderful partners in the city of Largo that are helping us with that transition. If you're not familiar with our property in downtown Clearwater, we have about 550,000 square feet of space in downtown Clearwater spread over 14 properties. With our studies and the transition of people working from home and all our workforce, we anticipate needing only about 350,000 square feet in our new facility at a campus on Ulmerton Road. And we're working with the city of Clearwater as we start to parcel out and transition and sell those properties as well. We're working with a group in North Pinellas County in Tarpon area to preserve a space called the Klosterman Preserve on Klosterman Road. It's 14 acres. We've committed some money to that. The local group is raising money. If we're able to be successful, which I believe we will, that will add 14 acres of green space to Pinellas County, which over the last several years, we have added 211 acres of green space, which is pretty remarkable in a county like Pinellas, I think. And we're very proud of that. 125 acres at Wall Springs, almost 50 acres at Gladys Douglas in Dunedin, 42-acre golf course in Seminole, and a smaller 9-acre parcel in Eastlake. But again, over 211 acres of green space in Pinellas County. Pretty incredible when you talk about how built out we are. We're beginning to start our budget process. Administrators meeting with staff departments going across there. June 5th, our budget workshop begins. We have 6 days of budget workshops. If you have nothing else to do and you want to cancel your vacation and come hang out with us, we will be meeting from 9:30 in the morning to about 4 in the afternoon for 6 straight days to go department by department, section by section to go through our budget. And that is really the best time. If you do have specific areas of interest to see, the agenda will be all laid out for you. You can see all the presentations. If there's an area of interest that you have, we welcome you to come and partake and give us input.
And by the way, there's 28 departments. So you know.
Is all the departments, all the constitutional officers, everybody else, we all got a chance to go through it. And then lastly, before you have questions, or 2 things. One, we left a stack of these here of our accomplishment report, gives a really good update of all the incredible work our county staff does for you every day. And then I got a text this morning that please remind that on May 9th and 10th on Clearwater Beach, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is hosting their Resiliency Summit, and you're invited to attend that and partake. So with that, Mayor, happy to answer any questions or.
Any questions for Commissioner? Yes, sir.
I just have a compliment. This is really down in the weeds, but the pay raise you did for Pinellas County employees back in October, I think it was, much appreciated. I know some folks that were making $15 an hour, but at least it's getting up to a fairly normal wage. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. We see that. That is the number one obvious area of our budget for our employees. You know, one, it's just the right thing to do. And 2, the folks that we have some folks that live in South Pasco that commute over. And Pasco was raising their pay, and so we have to be competitive. And then we have particular departments, quite frankly, our 911 operators, where we had to do a special raise in that department in order to keep those employees, critical employees, and we were losing some. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Commissioner.
Appreciate your time
Very
today.
good to
Have a
see
great
you.
day.
Just want to thank all the legislative people who came in. I made it a point since I got on in January as president to invite everyone, and they will continue to come throughout the year now, so I think it's great. Beach Watch, is there someone that I can update it unless we have somebody who's going to update it? It just says that 2024 weeks 6, 7, and 8 update. Is there anything that someone wants to say about that, or are we good? Okay, I think we're good. After the meeting, I'm going to do a 5-minute presentation to whoever would like to stay. It's part of my capstone project. I'm graduating in May with honors. With my degree in public policy and administration. And of course, my 5-minute presentation will be, my capstone is on the pros and cons of short-term rentals. Mr. Story, I'd love for you to stay because in that presentation, I will tell you from our perspective in our city, what is wrong with the bill that was passed. With that, I'll move on. Are there to city events? And we'll start with Mayor Queen.
Everything's quiet in North Reading Beach.
No events for Reddington Shores.
All quiet in Bel Air Beach.
Everything's good in Bel Air Shore.
Not so quiet, but going well in St. Pete Beach.
In Reddington Beach, this Saturday morning, we are having an Easter egg hunt starting at 9:30. So if you ever come to this before or heard about it, you better get there early. It gets pretty insane with these little kids. So see you Saturday.
I'm going to let you go ahead.
Okay. Madeira Beach, every Wednesday, we have the Madeira Way Market. That's going to end May 22nd, so that's open until 2 p.m. Later this evening, we have our light reception at 4:30. Anyone's invited. Induction in the office for 2 commissioners, and our workshop at 6. Friday, May 29th is our final Friday at Johns Pass Village Bell Tower area from 6 to 9. And then the following day, Saturday, March 30th, the Great American Grunt Hunt, which was postponed from last weekend. The weigh-in and community fish fry starts at 4 p.m., $15 a plate. Get fresh fish, fries, and slaw, I believe. And lastly, just a reminder about the Gulf Beaches Public Library. Their their brick fundraising event with their clip art and text. We encourage everyone to get involved with that. Thank you.
Every Sunday through the end of May, we have the Sunday morning market in Indian Shores, 19305 Gulf Boulevard. You're all welcome to come. It's a great place.
We have a lot going on in Treasure Island and it's spring break, so it is not quiet. It is very busy, but we also have an Easter egg hunt sponsored by our Gulf Beaches Rotary this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. But like Mayor Well said, definitely get there early to get a parking spot. It's at our community center park. Also very excited to announce that we will be doing a ribbon cutting for our new city hall on Tuesday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. We had our first city commission meeting in our new city hall commission chambers last night. A big monumental step forward. We've been remodeling this city hall for almost 4 years now. So I know I get a lot of flack for having postponed our Big C meetings in the new city hall. So I'm happy to announce that our next meeting that Treasure Island will host will be in our new city hall with a gorgeous view of the beach. We're right across the street from our main beach access, and our commission chambers and our event space have beautiful 180 degree of our beautiful beach across the street. So if anyone wants to come out to the ribbon cutting, that'll be next week. And then we also have Community Appreciation Day on Saturday, April 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we'll be offering tours of our city hall then for the public. So if you want to come see it before we host you guys for the Big C later this summer, you're welcome to come out on April 13th. We also have summer camp coming up June 3rd through August 9th. So if anyone in the community wants to sign up their kids or grandkids, you don't have to be a Treasure Island resident to participate. So that's a great thing that we offer over the summer. And then also we have airing on Monday nights on HGTV right now is Rock the Block, which was recently filmed in Treasure Island on Isle of Capri with 4 teams of amazing designers completely designing from scratch these beautiful townhomes with pools and docks behind them. So be sure to check that out. It's been very cool to see our beautiful beach aerial views highlighted on HGTV. And lastly, I just wanted to announce that this will be my last Big C meeting. Last night, we swore in our new, we had 1 new city commissioner, and after that, we also appoint all of our boards. So I have opted to step aside and let our new vice mayor, John Doctor, take my seat on the Big C. So he will be joining you guys at your next meeting. So it's been a pleasure. Been a pleasure to serve with you guys. I just felt that I've done this for 3 years, and I think it's time to bring a new voice to the table. And John's been on the commission for 4 years now, 3. So he's a great asset, and I'm happy to have him as our vice mayor. And I will be sure to stay tuned to what's going on at the Big C. But I know that he'll be a great voice and a great asset for you guys.
It's been very busy in Clearwater, along with all the Easter egg hunts throughout all our rec centers. This Saturday is going to be our Neighborhoods Day, where we have dozens of neighborhoods having block parties. So that's a great way to connect. Our new park, Imagine Clearwater, has an amphitheater called the Baycare Sound. We've had many concerts. The next one is Alabama next week. And then shortly thereafter is Diana Ross, Melissa Etheridge, Jewel, UB40, and Bare Naked Ladies. So downtown is full of music. Just check our Ruth Eckerd Hall website and go to our next concert.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that Mayor Pat Serrano didn't tell you is that this is his last meeting, and it's also mine. So I want to say for both of us that it has been a joy. Sometimes I think being on the Big C was even more important than being the mayor of my city. It's very difficult. And I just, I have appreciated all of you, especially the ones that I've served with for so long. We've always been a team, and they're bullies, but they became my bullies. And so that was always a great thing. We have collaborated on so many issues. Mayor Queen and I have spoken to different groups. They're all my favorites, but I have to say that Mayor Pat Serrano gets a gold star because at one event, he said that I was his best friend. And so I immediately said his wife is my best friend. So everybody would know. But, when you're in this business, I truly believe that the people that I have worked with really have the best interest of all of you. And we may not always agree, and sometimes we can't follow what we want to do for you. But I can tell you that everybody who's ever sat up here with me has worked so hard to do the very best for all of you. And Pat and I leave, and two absolutely incredible women will be taking our place. I'm very happy. Those cities are going to do a great job. And with that, like I said, I'm going to do my capstone, because when you go to school, they make you do a capstone, and I have to do it in front of a group. So I thought, what a better way than to do it to this group. And so I'm looking for an adjournment. Is there an adjournment? Yes.
On behalf of everyone sitting here that comes here every single month, to the three of you that are leaving, it's been a pleasure to be in the crowd and work directly with all of you, even outside of these meetings. We wish you all much success, and I'm sure everyone here agrees. Thank you so much. And thank you to the delegation that came here today, and thank you for the work on the TDT tax. But thank you guys for your dedication up here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, we'll be adjourned. And if you want to stay, you can stay. I'm going to do thank you, and no problem. And hopefully some of you will be coming tomorrow night at Indian Rocks Beach at 6 o'clock. They're having a reception, and I don't know what they're doing, but it's for me. So motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor Tyler Payne. Okay, all right.
I think. Well, Kathleen didn't go, so I'm the alternate, so I think I'm gonna go on. Well, I'm.